The Liberals took their campaign to a district they're hungry to win back in this election. And the response had to be encouraging to the party and their candidate here in Fogo Island, Cape Friels.
Blue right now, what I'm going to tell you is going to be red.
Yeah! I'm Terry Roberts here in Badgers Key, and I'll have that story coming up.
Whether you own a small bakery, a restaurant, a local store, auto repair, brewery, craft, or recreational vehicles like here.
Meanwhile, the PCs are in Corner Brook making a promise to lower taxes for small businesses.
Previous governments have not made a clear plan to address the specific needs of an aging population.
And the NDP are promising to keep couples together in long-term care.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Heather Gillis, filling in for Carolyn Stokes tonight. We begin on the campaign trail. The Liberals are on the northeast coast, and as Terry Roberts reports, there are signs that a district which voted blue in a by-election last year could become red once again.
If you're a political observer, you have to be watching the race here in Fogo Island, Cape Friels. This longtime Liberal bastion flipped to the PCs in a recent by-election. Now the Liberals are fighting hard to try and wrestle it back. And based on scenes like this, the Liberals have reason to be confident.
Sold out room. Sold out room. Sold out. We've got a great candidate here. And
one of the largest daytime campaign events so far for the Red team. And these loyalists believe in their candidate.
Dale's a committed person. He's a down-to-earth person. He's got a past record of dealing with issues, not just talking or taking them on. He's dealt with them and solved personal problems for people.
I'm here to support Dale Lewis because I really believe in this man.
Why is that?
Because he's a go-getter. And I think he's going to do a lot for our communities.
He's a retired police officer, a volunteer, speaks openly about his struggles with PTSD, and has been campaigning since last winter. And during this campaign stop at a fire hall in Musgrave Harbour, Lewis made his pitch during a scrum with reporters.
Through my policing, I got to know most of the district, and they need a voice, and I'm that voice.
Lewis is up against this PC incumbent. McKenna claimed this district in a by-election nearly 18 months ago, after this cabinet minister passed away. Liberal support had plummeted because of a controversy in the fishery, but Liberal diehards say the temperature has cooled.
From what I'm hearing now, that, it's a reversal. And the fishermen now are coming back on board again, once more, to support Dale Lewis. I've heard a number of conversations in the communities.
This is a sprawling district. The fishery is the economic backbone, and issues such as health care, cell phone service, and clean drinking water are priorities. And this local fire chief wants more support for his brigade.
Medical supplies and stuff like that, right? Like, be nice to everyone get on the same page, like the ambulances, and for we can have like same backboards and stuff like that.
This community leader wants a new seniors home in the region, and after speaking with the Liberal leader, there's no question about how he will vote. Did he secure your vote by doing that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Warm welcomes. The diehards out in force. The Liberals believe they're on a roll. Terry Roberts, CBC News, New West Valley.
Meanwhile, the Progressive Conservatives, their party leader, is on the west coast of the island. Today, Tony Wakeham is promising another tax break, this time pledging to slash taxes for businesses. Here Now's Mark Quinn reports.
This is a $60,000 bike. If the PCs get elected and keep today's campaign promise, businesses that sell them will pay less tax.
Our plan will start by lowering Newfoundland and Labrador small business tax rate down to 1%. Whether you own a small bakery, a restaurant, a local store, auto repair, brewery, craft, or recreational vehicles like here.
Right now, a business like this one pays 2.5% on the first $500,000 they take in. Of course, business owners like this new idea.
I mean, any kind of tax break is very important to small business. It helps us to reinvest in our business, to grow our business, to hopefully have more money to do more hiring and just expand.
Wakeham says slashing this tax will cost $11.5 million, but that won't trigger cuts to government jobs or services.
Everything that I have announced today, so far to date in this campaign, talks about investing money back in people's hands, in people's pockets. And that money just doesn't disappear. People spend their money. And when we spend money, we generate businesses, putting money back into businesses, putting money back so people can hire more jobs, creating more industry.
And what about critics who say campaigning parties are promising the moon and ignoring fiscal responsibility?
We have a huge debt, and that has increased significantly over the last 10 years with the Liberal government. And we have to be cautious of that debt. We have to make sure we develop a real plan in how to deal with it. But part of that is making sure first that people want to stay here in Newfoundland and Labrador, that people can afford to live here in Newfoundland and Labrador.
If this tax cut happens, it won't be the first time. Last year, the Liberal provincial government reduced this business tax from 3% to 2.5%. Mark Quinn, CBC News, Corner Brook.
The NDP is in St. John's, and they're promising to keep couples together in long-term care. If elected, leader Jim Dinn says his party would bring in new legislation to ensure couples are housed in the same facility. Currently, some spouses are separated when they require different levels of care. Patients with the highest needs are prioritized when a bed becomes available. Dinn says his legislation would change that and also prioritize a patient's husband or wife. He says Nova Scotia implemented that shift in 2021 at a minimal cost. Dinn says his ultimate goal would be to keep people in their own homes as long as possible. He also believes it's unfair to separate couples once they require care.
If you've been together with someone for 40 or 50 years, and all of a sudden that you're in, or sometimes even in another facility, maybe not even on the floor, I guess there's a balance here, but it's a recognition that separation is probably going to have a more of a deleterious effect on the health of the person, both of them.
Transition houses across the province give shelter to women and children fleeing violence. The cost of providing that service is increasing, and some say contributions from the province aren't keeping pace, leaving the shelters to question their future. Rob Antle reports.
Well, our number one concern at present is definitely the insufficiencies in funding that are coming from the province for transition houses.
Libra House is a shelter in Happy Valley Goose Bay for women and children leaving abusive relationships. Staffed 24 hours a day to provide those services. Costs are rising, but Alicia Neville says contributions from the province aren't keeping pace.
Our funding in the current fiscal year is just shy of enough to pay our salaries and benefits to our staff. So for us, that means that all of the other expenses are on the onus of Libra House, and that can be a tremendous burden.
One problem, she says the province negotiated and signed collective agreements with their staff, but didn't give the shelter any more money to pay the bigger bill.
The province really needs to step up and start reaffirming its commitment to the shelter and to the women and children, the vulnerable women and children that we're trying to serve here.
And it's not just an issue in Labrador. There are concerns on the island as well.
Government really needs to realize that this has gone on long enough, and we're providing a very important, vital service to women and children experiencing violence in this province, and we don't feel as though we're listened to.
The money for those shelters flows through the Newfoundland and Labrador Housing Corporation. In a statement, officials said they are aware that some transition houses have been operating in a deficit, and over the last 3 years provided more than $1 million to help with financial concerns, like salary increases and inflation. The umbrella group for shelters in the province says a boost in base funding is the solution.
This year alone, 4 transition houses have been in a position of not being able to make payroll without having to call the government of Newfoundland and Labrador as an emergency and say, what do you want us to do? Close beds for women and children fleeing violence, or pay the staff what you've negotiated them?
Government documents show that base funding for shelters has essentially stayed flat since 2020. increasing by less than 5% in total over 5 years. Over the same period, inflation ran at more than 20%. Rob Antle, CBC News, St. John's.
CBC News asked all 3 provincial party leaders for their reaction to that story. Here's what they had to say.
To be perfectly honest with you, I think it's ridiculous that government on the one hand can approve salary increases for workers, but on the other hand refuse to provide the additional funding that these centres need. If we value these centres, and I certainly do, and I believe they're a part of the solution, but when the government refuses or holds them out to ransom by not providing the necessary funding, no, that's wrong.
This is a cry for help. I don't know if government is going to listen, but it's something that we would be addressing as well.
So don't want any shelters to close, and if funding is needed to make sure they stay open, that needs to be an absolute priority. This is a very complex situation, of course. I know it's something that we need to do better at. I think perhaps a whole entire review of our transitional shelter housing in this province needs to be looked at. Right now I think it's probably a little bit piecemeal, and maybe the government needs to get more involved and make sure that it's operating so that anybody who needs that housing, that it's available to them.
Is that something you're committing to do if you get re-elected?
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, a man and a woman convicted of abducting a 14-year-old girl nearly 2 years ago have been sentenced to house arrest. New Brunswick resident Wilbur Crockwell will serve 1 year for coming up with the scheme. His co-accused, Aaron Bast, who is from this province, will serve 8 months. The two helped a 14-year-old girl leave a group home in St. John's, prompting a rare Amber Alert. Bast brought the girl to a cabin in central Newfoundland. Crockwell planned to bring her back to New Brunswick, where she's from. Neither will be allowed to contact that girl during their sentences. A teenager in Happy Valley Goose Bay has been arrested following an assault last night. The RCMP say it happened around 6:40 p.m. Officers found an injured person laying in the middle of Cartwright Road. Police say he had serious and potentially life-threatening injuries. The 17-year-old is now facing several charges, including aggravated assault and theft under $5,000. Most municipal elections in this province are going ahead tomorrow, but the City of St. John's has moved its election date to October the 8th. That's because the Canada Post strike has caused disruptions in some mail-in ballots. If you already cast your vote by mail, the city has a new website to confirm if your vote has been counted. Zach Gowdy explains.
If you voted in the City of St. John's municipal election by putting your completed ballot in the mail, you may want to check this website before Election Day. The Canada Post strike has stranded an unknown number of ballots in the mail system. The city says that Canada Post and the Postal Workers Union were able to recover most of those ballots, but so far only about 16,000 completed ballots have landed at City Hall. That's about half the number of votes cast in the last election. Is your vote stuck in the mail? Here's how you find out. Go to www.stjohns.ca and click on 2025 Municipal Election. At the top of that page, there's a green button that says, check if your vote has been received. Then you simply enter your name, date of birth, and street address. It's important to use your legal name and the address at which you are registered to vote. If your current address doesn't come up, try an old one. If it says that your ballot has not been received, but you did send it, then you have two options. You can get a new voting kit from City Hall and drop off the completed ballot before the big day, or just wait until October 8th and vote in person. But voting day could look very different from usual in this city. In the last election, mail-in ballots and drop-off ballots accounted for 90% of all ballots cast. But because of the Canada Post strike, the city is now preparing for a surge in in-person voting. So we could be heading to something that looks a little like an old-school election day in St. John's. Zach Gowdy, CBC News, St. John's.
Coming up on Here and Now, we'll take a look at the municipal election happening in Paradise. We're going to see who's vying to be the new mayor of the province's third largest municipality.
Well, temperatures today are pretty much around where we should be sitting for most areas, particularly up across Labrador and Lab West. Now, those of us along the northeast coast, very different story, much cooler today, and this northerly flow that is responsible for that is going to continue as well. So we've got a little bit of a roller coaster ride in temperatures, back even above seasonable for some areas as we head towards the weekend. But things are going to remain unsettled. Some shower chances certainly in the forecast, along with some sunshine though. I'll break it all down for you coming up a little later.
Welcome back to Here and Now. The former mayor of Paradise is running for provincial politics, and that means residents of the town will be electing a new mayor tomorrow. The CBC's Jenna Head spoke with both candidates.
Residents of Paradise have two familiar faces seeking the town's top job in this year's municipal election. Town Councillor Patrick Martin and Town Councillor Larry Vaders. Both are running for mayor with three main issues top of mind.
My number one thing that I'm actually hearing right now is traffic congestion in the town of Paradise, especially around the Tops of Road area. It's a really highly talked about issue.
The primary issue would be traffic and traffic management.
With one primary road in and out of the town and two provincial interchanges, one toward the Trans-Canada Highway and one toward Kenmount Road, rush hour in Paradise typically moves at a snail's pace. Then there's illegal dirt bike use.
Dirt bike and ATV use is a highly talked about topic. It's something that we need to deal with, but it comes with dealing with the RNC to get some jurisdiction there, because it's their jurisdiction. So we need to deal directly with them to get this issue resolved.
For Vaders, that looks like the RNC having more of a presence in the town.
I think the time has come now for there to be an RNC detachment in the town of Paradise. I've advocated for it since I've been on council. I will continue to advocate for it.
Another big issue is the water pressure in Elizabeth Park.
A lot of people in the town have some real problems with water pressure that needs to be dealt with. We need to get some funding for that as well. Everybody should be treated equal in the town, and so nobody should be left out.
We have a problem today that needs to be addressed, and we need to identify what that solution is, whether it's upgrading existing infrastructure or whether it's building a new water tower. That issue needs to be addressed, and we need to get that issue resolved for residents of Elizabeth Park.
Residents across the province will head to the polls to vote for who will represent their municipality on October 2nd. Vader says he is prepared to be a strong advocate for Paradise, while Martin says he will remain accessible and honest. Jenna Head, CBC News, Paradise.
A community on Newfoundland's west coast remains under a state of emergency tonight because of a critically low water level. Hughes Brook is having water trucked in to help as the town hands out bottled water for residents.
Today we are getting water trucked in from Corner Brook, and there's certain conditions that are required for that. So we are not on a non-consumption order because we obtained the water from an approved source. So that's good. We're just on a boil water advisory. We did leak detection last night and the night before as well, and we found a possibility of a leak. That is going to be addressed tomorrow. We are currently approved for funding for a water investigation for a new water source. And that is probably going out to tender in the next week or so. So that's another opportunity for us to determine another source of water that could actually supply the town and help us be able to grow. Because currently we only have about 62 connections to the water, and it's a small man-made dam, like a coffer dam, and it can only hold so much, right? And when there's no inflow, and we have more of an outflow than an inflow, that's a problem, and it's only been trickling. So the last rainfall was, you finally saw a little bit more coming in the dam, but it's just not enough. So we have plenty of water available for residents. If they can't come and get it, I am available, and staff is available to deliver it to their homes as well. We had several people call in and asking if the water's on and the water's off. Currently the water is off, and because you can't have the water on while we're filling the dam because of the sediment. So it's going to be off until further notice, until the water settles.
Layoffs are coming for some Exxon Mobile employees in St. John's. A spokesperson confirmed to CBC News that cuts are a part of a company-wide restructuring plan. The company plans to cut 2,000 jobs across their global operations. In this province, Exxon Mobile operates the Hebron project and is the lead owner in Hibernia. The company would not confirm how many jobs will be lost in this province, but it says about 20% of positions in Canada will be reduced by the end of 2027. The changes are not expected to affect people working offshore. The company says most job cuts will be taking place in Calgary. Welcome back to Here and Now. We've got Ashley standing by with your forecast now. And Ashley, when I went out this morning, it really did feel like fall for sure.
It was freezing. I had some ice in my backyard this morning as well. Temperatures were on the cool side. Officially at the airport, St. John's recorded about 1 degree, but obviously some areas seeing temperatures a little bit below that. That's the case through Central. Badger, Deer Lake, all seeing those temperatures between -3 and -4. But certainly a chilly night. Even Corner Brook seeing a low near 0 degrees. Same thing for Happy Valley, Goose Bay. But the rest of Labrador sitting between 1 and 3 degrees. We've got another chilly night on tap again tonight, and that's because of the setup. We've got an area of low pressure offshore and an area of high pressure that is essentially dominating the weather picture. We've got that counterclockwise rotation, and that is leading to or giving us that northerly flow along with some cooler temperatures as well. And this will dominate the weather picture over the next day or so as well. So that northerly flow will stick around. Our daytime highs just reaching barely the single digits, but this is right around where you should be sitting this time of year up across Labrador and then across the island. Those single digits definitely below where we should be sitting, but we'll get back to maybe 10 or 12 degrees, somewhere between 10 to 13 degrees rather, and that is where we should be sitting for this time of year. Zooming out, just taking a look at the current picture weather-wise, we've got varying levels of cloud cover as that ridge of high pressure tries to dominate, but still that northerly flow keeping things very unsettled, especially for eastern Newfoundland at the moment. We're seeing some showers that are moving through, and this will generally continue as we head through the overnight tonight. With those temperatures already fairly chilly into the single digits, 6 degrees in St. John's, 6 in Gander, same thing, Twillingate, but a little warmer though for those of you along the south coast where you're away from that onshore flow. Those temperatures are a little warmer, 10 to 13 degrees at the moment, and still firmly into the single digits up across Labrador. Now, the reason for this is we've got a big dip in the jet stream that's allowing those temperatures to be fairly chilly, but the temperatures are on a little bit of a roller coaster as we head through the next couple of days. We'll see that ridge eventually, the trough move off. We'll see a ridge build, and that is going to bring some milder temperatures, especially up across Labrador, and then across the island portion of the province as well as we get into Friday. So these temperatures are actually going to be above where we should be sitting this time of year. So we'll be back into the teens eventually, and then into next week. There's a potential that some areas, particularly up across Labrador, may reach the 20-degree mark yet again. So for now, we will continue to see this northerly flow. Some shower chances or drizzle will continue through the night for most of the northeast coast, really the eastern half of the island. We'll see some clearing skies up across Labrador and eventually some clearing skies towards the morning hours for those of you in basically the western half of the island. Temperatures tonight will hover somewhere between -2 and +3 for Labrador, and then hovering around the 0-degree mark yet again. Low-lying areas, if you do clear out, you may see some cooler temperatures for sure, but the warmest temperatures will be east around 5 degrees for St. John's. But again, low-lying areas may see those temperatures a little cooler. The first part of the day, again, showers or drizzle will continue, but the skies should clear as we head into the afternoon. Most of the island seeing sunshine. You'll start the day fairly nice for Labrador, but clouds will be on the increase and some shower chances again for those of you towards the coast and the Upper Lake Melville area, potentially seeing some of those showers and maybe making it as far as Lab West into the evening. But overall, a fairly nice day on tap for tomorrow. We're looking at those daytime highs sitting somewhere between 9 to 13 degrees, so a tad warmer, but those northerly still sticking around. 20 to as much as 40 for the west, and then 30 to 50 further east. And then up across Labrador between 10 to 13 degrees for you, along with some breezy winds. I'll get into the long-range forecast a little later.
Thanks, Ashley. Post-secondary students from Memorial and College of the North Atlantic protested outside Confederation Building this afternoon. They had a list of demands for the next provincial government. Julia Israel was there.
These university students are crying for help. They say they can't afford to stay in school and demand a tuition freeze, paid work terms, and more need-based scholarships. It's the last day before next year's tuition hikes are put in place.
In 1999, people marched on the streets and we did free tuition, so we're trying to do the same thing again.
Rana Abudris wants to build a life in the province, but with housing troubles and food insecurity added on, she's not sure she can.
We think this is outrageous. We are still students, and I do want the government to remember that. We are the future of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Students in nursing, social work, and education must complete 500 hours of unpaid work to graduate.
We're not compensated for our time. There's a word for that. It's exploitation. Exploitation is not an opportunity for learning. Our work should be compensated like any others. A common theme of all of these professions is that they are all fields historically dominated by women. Engineering students are paid for their co-ops. Many students are paid for their co-op and work experiences. We just want the same thing.
This social work student lost her serving job after starting her unpaid rural placement.
It made me almost resent my placement. I am passionate about my social work degree and cannot wait to put it to use in our community. But to work and not be compensated for it was sad. As a mom of two, this upcoming winter will take a toll on my family financially. My family will be down to a single income, and our finances will be stretched further than they already are. Trying to upgrade my education to better my life and my children should not be this stressful.
Both NDP and PC party platforms promise to freeze tuition if elected, and both call for paid work terms for all. But the students are concerned that the Liberals have made no promises on this front as of yet.
Honestly, I'm disappointed about the Liberals. This is the only university in the province. Their argument is the fact that Memorial University already gets so much funding compared to any other university in the country. I feel like they forget to remember that this is the only university in the province. Other universities don't have that privilege.
Julia Israel, CBC News, St. John's.
The Churchill Falls MOU has been a hot topic on the campaign trail. We asked Memorial University Science professor why the MOU has been such a key issue.
I'm not surprised that this issue is sort of central because I think that the Liberals planned this. I actually thought originally that we might even see the previous premier still running on this. I thought that this MOU is really big for people in Newfoundland and Labrador who have been looking at 2041 as the year in which finally some money would come to us from our energy resources because of poor deals of the past. So this is a really big agreement. This is really important to the people of the province. And if the Liberals can sort of tout it as a major accomplishment and the reason to keep them in power, zero surprise. I think the other parties would like it to not be there if possible. And so I think there will be some attempts to dampen it down, to make that not really what we're talking about. But certainly for the Liberals, for the governing party, this is a pretty big thing. And I think that for a lot of people in the province, this is a really big thing. Again, that's not to say that the deal is good or the deal is bad, more so to say it seems better than what we had. And on the surface, I think most people are attracted to it.
Why do you think that individual voters are engaged on this topic?
This is a long-standing issue for Newfoundland and Labrador. You know, if you talk to the average person, there's actually historically even been some animosity towards Quebec, and part of it is our own fault. We made an agreement that wasn't a good agreement, and in turn, we had no real benefit of our energy resources because of the deal we'd made. So I think it hung over people's heads, and I think that we're a small province that has had difficulty in terms of economics and finances. We tend to run deficits. We've been a have-not province for a big part of our history. These are the sorts of things that people think of as, you know, how much better could we be or what could we have? And so, yeah, I think that I don't know how many other deals of this nature may have been made in the past, but I think that for Newfoundland and Labrador as a small sort of peripheral province, that felt like maybe we were stuck in a bad financial deal for a long time, to see some relief from that, to see the province, the government say, hey, we have more money, we can do more things, those are really big things here.
Do you think that it'll eclipse other issues like cost of living, health care?
It's an interesting question. I think that the challenge of the MOU is that it is sort of one thing that possibly gives us more money, but aside from that, it isn't all these other areas of policy that actually affect people's lives. Like the truth is that in my day-to-day life, the MOU is not part of it, right? But whether I have effective housing or healthcare or education, these are things that do. So the government, I think, is trying to translate this into those things, though. They're saying, look, if we have more money, which we think we do based on this agreement, then we can do all these things that you want. And you know, I think that's the needle that they're trying to thread here, to talk about it a lot, to say, hey, we accomplished something great as government and it's just going to make things better. But the truth is the MOU doesn't give you a lot to talk about. I think they're trying to, you know, tie it into other policy areas to say, we can do this because of that, we can do this because of that. And that's how they're trying to work it into their sort of everyday, right?
Welcome back. The RE/MAX Centre in St. John's is undergoing a large renovation. It's all due to a boom in curling at the club.
We've done some parking lot repairs that were badly needed. New countertops and bathroom fixtures in the ladies' bathroom. Repainted a lot of places, and now we're putting a roof on. We're debt free. which is amazing for most curling clubs, and be able to put a $200,000 roof on your building, of course, is pretty good. We'd like to do 3 more, and a whole new lounge, locker room, basically build a new 3-sheet curling club on the back end of this. That's a $5 million proposition. And then we'd have to go after federal and provincial funding for that. It's probably a 2-year project, but by doing it that way, we won't have to shut down, right? Because they can build that while this is still on. Because if you've got to shut down and wait 2 years, you've lost your member base. Putting in the ice is 2 weeks straight, and then of course we had a high performance kids camp after that, and of course after you get all that done, then it's time to catch up with everything else that needs to be done, members wanting to get joined for the season and everything else. Then we had a 32-team spiel this weekend. We don't have to promote or advertise for people to come. We don't do open houses anymore. We're just full as it is, and so if with any kind of promotion at all, there's no reason why you can't fill up 2.5 curling clubs here. We've got room to grow, so why not? Let's grow.
The Nature Conservancy of Canada says it's going to start protecting a large swath of land in central Newfoundland near Gander Lake. The group says that's all thanks to the largest land donation it's received in Atlantic Canada.
We are thrilled to announce that Domtar has donated 1,800 hectares, over 1,800 hectares of land on Gander Lake. This constitutes the largest land donation in our 54 years of operating in Atlantic Canada. The land is on the south side of Gander Lake, between Hunts Cove and Southwest Gander River, and it is just an expanse of beautiful intact boreal forests. We're actually heading out tomorrow to do a little bit more exploration of the land, and I can't wait to get back out there.
Why is it important to conserve pieces of land like this?
Well, for this kind of piece of land, being so large and situated actually between 2 proposed even larger protected areas, it is the opportunity. We were lucky enough to work with a landowner like Domtar to have the opportunity to essentially close the gap between 2 other proposed protected areas. So we're kind of creating this conservation corridor in partnership, with the proposed provincially protected area and the other proposed protected area, which is put forward by Halibu First Nation. And so these really large, intact pieces of land that will remain, large, intact pieces of land, allow for some of the species that occupy the boreal forest to really thrive, that really need these large home ranges in order to, just continue to thrive in the woods today.
What kind of activities will people be able to do on this land once it's protected?
Yeah, so for a lot of the land users, not very much is going to change. We welcome people on our properties all the time, so things like legal hunting, fishing, trapping, all of those are going to continue. There are a couple of trails and ATV roads that we won't be maintaining, but we're not going to be blocking access for people to continue to use their ATVs to transit through and get to their cabins. And then lastly, there are a number of cabins that are on the property. We want to work with those cabin owners to make sure that we're clearing those land title issues up, and so that cabin owners that have a structure on the land that we just acquired are still going to be able to continue to enjoy those cabins into the future.
Of course, this past summer we saw devastating fires here in this province. How is conserving land important when you consider what we saw happen over this summer?
The boreal forest is a dynamic ecosystem. We need to recognize that we live in a fire-prone place. The boreal forest is a forest that works with fire. Having land that will not be converted for other purposes, whether for forestry or mining or cabin development or anything like that, we're making sure that the carbon that is stored in that forest right now will continue to be part of that natural carbon cycle, which at this moment means that it's going to continue to be contained in the trees for the foreseeable future. We're just really thankful for the support that we've had from a lot of the community groups, including the Halibu First Nation, in making this project a success. We've had incredible financial support from the federal government through the Natural Heritage Conservation Program. And of course, another big shout out to Domtar for being such a wonderful partner in making this donation happen in the first place.
Perry, thank you so much. At least 69 people have been killed in the central Philippines after an earthquake on Tuesday night. Hundreds of others are injured, and a desperate search and rescue effort is underway for possible survivors. Some hospitals are overwhelmed, treating patients in the streets. Crews are using mechanical diggers and sniffer dogs to sift through the rubble. Roads, buildings, and bridges have been damaged. A 100-year-old church also lay among the ruins. Power has been cut off across the island's north coast. Authorities say it's the deadliest quake to strike the country in more than a decade, and the death toll is expected to rise. Back in this country, if you're one of the millions of Canadians who buy Girl Guide cookies each year, well, be warned, there seems to be an online scam involving the famous treat. Yasmin Gernea has the details.
Online scammers are using Girl Guide cookies to make money. Posts from Facebook community groups in BC and Ontario show people claiming their children are selling the cookies.
They don't seem to have access to any cookies. They are not associated with our organization.
They ask for e-transfers up front, but don't deliver the tasty treats.
We are obviously concerned about seeing examples like this out there in the wild, but we hope that they don't discourage any of our supporters from supporting a really essential program for kids and youth and adults.
Cookies are the Girl Guides of Canada's main fundraising tool, helping raise money for programs, activities, and camp fees.
Scammers online today will do anything for a dishonest dollar.
Cybersecurity experts say there are ways you can protect yourself.
First, pay after delivery. So make arrangements, get the cookies dropped off by the parents, and then once you physically have the goods, do the payment then and there.
But if you do fall for these kinds of scams, experts say don't be ashamed and report it to help others. Yasmin Gernea, CBC News, Vancouver.
Wildlife advocate and primate expert Jane Goodall has died at the age of 91. She was renowned worldwide for her groundbreaking research on chimpanzees, as well as for her activism in the environment and on human rights. The CBC's Jill English looks at her life and legacy.
She was just 26 when she made her first groundbreaking discovery. Studying chimpanzees in the mountains of Tanzania in the 1960s, she watched the animals use sticks to fish for termites. It was a simple observation, but when she reported it back to her supervisor, it unraveled the definition of what it means to be human.
Man the toolmaker is how we were defined at that time. So when I told Lewis, he sent back that famous telegram saying, now we have to redefine man, redefine tool, or accept chimpanzees as humans.
Chronicled by National Geographic, Goodall and her chimps became cultural icons. But the revered scientist was also an unlikely one. Born into working-class England in 1934, her only formal education before her chimp study was in bookkeeping. As a child, she dreamed of living among African wildlife, like her heroes Tarzan and Jane.
So no wonder people laughed at me, except my mother. And she would say, if you really want something and you really work hard and you take advantage of opportunity and you never give up, you'll find a way.
Jane spent the better part of 26 years in the forest, founding the Jane Goodall Institute, which still operates today. This life of research would have been enough to lock in a legacy. But in the mid-1980s, Goodall's mission changed. Deforestation was decimating habitats around the world.
I'd been able to live out my dream all those years. I'd been with these amazing beings in the beautiful forest, and it was all disappearing. I now had a responsibility to start paying back.
She went from scientist to activist.
Till everybody understands the problem, we can't really hope for change.
Goodall spent most of her time on the road, spreading her observations and her cause.
It's all intertwined, and there are no simple solutions.
In her outreach, Goodall supported communities near her research center and encouraged young people to tackle social and environmental challenges close to home.
I want to give the tree energy, and I want the energy from the tree.
A lot of people understand and they care, but they feel helpless because they don't know what to do. And so, you know, the hope is to galvanize them.
But under her empathy, ironclad resolve.
People say, oh, we've borrowed the future from our children. When you borrow, you're supposed to pay back.
She advanced science her way, and through it, our grasp of humanity, giving us the tools to share in her hope. Jill English, CBC News, Toronto.
For details.
Welcome back to Here and Now. So it's time for a look at our forecast a little longer ahead. What do we have in store over the next couple of days, bringing us closer to the weekend or into it?
Yeah, a little bit of a roller coaster ride. Temperatures are going to warm up and then cool down and then warm up again as we head through the weekend. So a little bit of everything, let's just say that. Let's take a look at what's going to happen as we head into Friday. Things will be a little bit unsettled to start the day up across Labrador, generally looking at some increasing cloud towards the coast as the day goes on, with the slight chance of some showers here and there. Not a washout by any means, but the island portion of the province Actually looks pretty beautiful to start the day on Friday. This is when we will see a change in the temperatures. We've been dealing with a little bit below seasonable temperatures anywhere along the northeast coast, really, thanks to northerly winds, but that will change with this as we see even above seasonable temperatures through the afternoon on Friday. We'll continue to see some shower activity up across Labrador, but it's going to come with mild temperatures, 12 to 18 degrees. As I showed you a little bit earlier in the show, you should typically be sitting somewhere between 6 and 8 degrees across the Big Land. So definitely a warm up, and that will be the story across the island as well. Now this is only about 2 to 5 degrees warmer than what it should be, but certainly will feel like a beautiful day with that sunshine. Increasing cloud towards the end of the day, but overall an absolutely gorgeous Friday on tap. As we look ahead to Saturday, again, some more shower chances expected up across Labrador, western portion of the island, as well as the northern peninsula. On Saturday morning anyway, you may see some shower activity through the day. Again, varying levels of cloud cover expected through the afternoon. But we've got a bit of a trough moving through, and temperatures will dip, especially for coastal areas of Labrador. With that chance of some showers, like I said, anywhere from 8 to 12 degrees is your daytime highs, and a little cooler, only by a couple of degrees across the island, but somewhere between 9 to as much as 17 degrees. Warmest temperatures will be along southern areas of the island through the day on Saturday. After that, temperatures really going to drop again on Sunday, back down to the single digits along with some rain, and then we rebound yet again on Monday, back up to about 14 degrees, but overnight lows will sit in the mid-single digits as we get to the week, through the weekend into early next week. Now for central and western Newfoundland, temperatures by the time we get into Monday may be a little bit warmer, so 14 to 17 degrees as the daytime highs, and our overnight lows will start to warm up a little bit as well, between 7 and 9 degrees. But the end of the weekend, beginning of next week, looking beautiful as far as that sunshine goes. And then for Labrador, take a look at that, your Monday temperature, 20 degrees possible, and your overnight low on Saturday, it's going to be -2. Monday night, 13 degrees. So big change, big swing in temperatures there. Although Saturday, Sunday, and Monday at this point looking beautiful sunshine-wise. A little bit more unsettled for those of you in western Labrador. But yeah, temperatures warming up nearly 10 degrees by the time we get from Saturday to Monday. So certainly some nice weather there. Our photo of the day taken on Maraschine Island. Take a look at this beauty. Isn't that gorgeous when the
it's just lovely
clouds there? Thank you to William for that great photo. This is home for William and likes to go back there as often as he can. But thank you so much for sharing that little portion of the beautiful island. Thank you. If you have any weather photos you'd like to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Beautiful photo, William. Hard to see there where the sea meets the sky.
Yeah.
It's just stunning. And no kidding about the roller coaster in the temperatures.
I was not kidding, no.
An apt description.
Yeah.
All right, well, that is our show for this evening. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Good night.
Good night.